Good morning. This is Randy, and this is going to be my 17th podcast in my series. And my podcast is called Common Sense and Ramblings in America. I'm going to read from one of my recent postings on my blog, and it's entitled Voter Reform My Final Words. The blog name is common-sense-in-america.com. And I will now start my reading. Unless you are a deaf mute or are a rabid leftist, you can't deny that during the 2020 presidential election, serious issues arose. I know many of these issues were created intentionally by the Democrats so that it would be easier to cheat. So now we have to make some changes to offset the shenanigans they pulled, all of which were unconstitutional, I might add. Since the COVID pandemic arose, it became evident that we needed a little bit more flexibility in our voting rules. The problem is they went too far. So I'm going to put forth my plan for fixing the problem. What else is new, right? I've always got an opinion about something. There has been a few proposals made, and some states have actually passed some legislation, but I feel they have not gone far enough. They have not addressed the basic problems. Firstly, most voters agree that we need a picture or photo ID to vote. It just makes sense. Even if you don't drive, every state offers the option of getting a basic photo ID. In most cases, they are very cheap. It can be $5, $6, or maybe a little bit more, but usually not more than $10. So stop griping and get an ID so you can vote safely and securely. Or if you already got a driver's license or even a passport, that's all you need. The major problem that arises in today's society is that we, as a people, are highly mobile. One of the things that we fail to update is our voter registration because it's the last thing in our mind. Who really cares, right? But it is probably the most important thing that we can do in our lives besides raise a family is vote. So also, even if you update your voter registration, there is no guarantee that it actually has been updated and your old accounts have been deleted. So if you move from one part of the city to another, you're going to probably be in a different voter registration unless you live in a very small town or city. So they may not update it. You may be listed in two registration districts. So that could be a problem, right? All right. So if we keep on sending mass mailings like we did this last time, you can have several ballots posts out there throughout the country that were mailed for you. So what's to stop those people that received those at those addresses that you used to live at from sending them in? There's really no way, especially if it's a different state. They don't keep track of each other. They really don't, these states. So this is, I know I'm kind of going off a little bit, but yeah, that's my prerogative, right? Here's my solution for this conundrum. We need state databases that are tied to a federal voting database. This way, any changes made in your voting status will automatically update to the federal database as well. This sounds simple, but there are a few things that need to be done to make it work. Whenever changes are made, flags need to go up at the federal database. The federal database needs to be the governing database to make sure that the duplicates at the state levels are not being used. Once you're voting in one district, you are automatically blocked from voting in another district. This is done by the federal database. So when a duplicate pops up due to an address change, the tech needs to ensure that the old accounts are deleted. That is why the federal database needs to have the overall control. This cannot be done at the state level, especially if you've moved to different states. There is a problem with the voting process in general, whether it be in person or by mail in. The ballots, once filled out, are anonymous. When a mail-in envelope is separated from the ballot, there is no way to know who made the selections. So this is the problem, okay? What happened in the election, the ballots have to typically be folded up in the envelope because they're just too big. And they had literally thousands of ballots with no mail-in ballots with no creases in them. So where'd they come from? And since there's no names, we have no proof that they weren't actually sent. So this process needs to change. Your name and a unique scan bar with a time and date stamp needs to be attached to each ballot. whether it be registered as a mail-in ballot or you enter your selections in person at a mail ballot or mailing or voting location. When you vote in person, your name and date and time and your unique scan bar, which never will change from the time you are first registered until the time you die. This is where the federal database works so well. No ballot can be accepted without a name and a unique scan bar. So you can't have basically blank ballots. They won't be accepted. They'll be kicked out. So the database will also ensure that the voter is in fact living in the United States and is a legal resident. So you can't register to vote unless you have an address in the United States and you are a resident. Now, you can have your green card, that is fine too, but at least you have the paperwork to prove that you're living in the United States and you are a member of our society and not just visiting or here illegally. As I stated earlier, the COVID-19 pandemic stressed our voting system. The pandemic also gave unscrupulous politicians a means to make deleterious changes in our voter system. Their form ideas I have discussed have taken care of all but the last one. The matter of how long and when can the voter vote till. Will votes be counted after Election Day, for instance? I believe in mail-in ballots should be allowed 1 month prior to Election Day. I also believe that in-person voting should be allowed 2 weeks prior to Election Day. Because of these generous changes, no ballot should be accepted after midnight on Election Day. They have plenty of time. With the data on the actual ballot now, this process will be easy. So with a time and date stamp on it, they'll be kicked out if it was entered after midnight. So there you go. So that takes care of that problem. Yes, these changes will cost extra money, but what cost is too high to preserve our way of life? This system can work with minor modifications for even the worst pandemic. Once the infrastructure is in place, the costs will drop substantially for each election. So this is my idea for voter reform. So what do you guys think about that? I know this is going to be a slightly shorter blog article, but I am doing several today to make up for the time I'm going to be going on vacation. So a couple of them will be shorter. But as always, please be safe. Don't give up the good fight. And you have a great day. And I'll be talking to you soon. Thank you.